Hello everyone, thank you all for joining us for today's Sage Intacct demonstration. I've got a presentation up, however the idea is to move on swiftly to the demo. I would just like to take a moment to introduce us as a partner and explain what gives us the right to talk about Sage Intacct, and then give you a high level view of what it is. We know that you're coming from different sectors and are in the exploration stage at the moment. So the idea of this webinar is to give you a good first overview of what Sage Intacct is and what it can do for you. And then we'll follow up with you individually to see where you are in your journey and discuss what else you'd like to see that may be more specific to you. So, my name is Linda. I'm one of the sales consultants here at Vision 33. I'll be working with you to really get to know you and understand your company, your current challenges, and what you like to achieve with a new finance system. I'll then help you understand where Sage Intacct fits in. And Emma is one of our certified Sage Intacct consultants. She's got a rich experience of the software, and she also comes from an accounting background, which means that she'll bring both technical and financial insights to your implementation. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box at any time, and we will answer these at the end. But it's not just all about the piece of software you are choosing. And even though Sage Intacct is a very user-friendly system to navigate, to make sure you get a successful experience of the software and that you're taking advantage of its full potential, you will have us as a business partner that will set up the solution to your needs and business case. But not only that, but a partner that will build sort of support system around you, who gives you advice and who you can lean on. So for over 30 years, we at Vision 33 have helped businesses just like you to automate their business processes by switching to a cloud finance platform such as Sage Intacct. We are the largest global business partner for Sage Intacct and also a Sage Intacct Platinum Club member. And this really reflects our high level of partner engagement and also our tried and tested project methodology. We got offices here in the UK, in the US, and in Canada, and you'll work with our central Intacct implementation team. And this means that we have local knowledge as well as expertise from the other countries, which only really adds to the rich pool of resources that we have available for you. Furthermore, we are also a software developer and a Sage technology partner and have built several enhancements applications, for example, a leading integration platform called Saltbox. So this is a middleware that can connect to anything. So if you have any other business systems that you need to connect with your finance system, we can do that as well. And just to show you some customer examples here, the reason why I put this up is to demonstrate that Sage Intacct can work in any sector, but also to show that we at Vision 33 have experience working across industries. We have customers within, for example, hospitality, recruitment, retail, regulated industries such as the health sector, non-for-profit organizations, professional and financial services, etc., etc. Lots of different companies come to us seeking help and support with implementing Sage Intacct. So it really doesn't matter what industry you come from or what system you are currently using. We have seen all kinds of different scenarios, and that is really where our experience comes into picture. And we'll make sure that you have a smooth transition to Sage Intacct. Well, in terms of the solution, Sage Intacct is what we refer to as the best of breed finance system. Sage Intacct is a modular and flexible finance system that caters for a wide range of company sizes, from small businesses to enterprise level, but to differentiate it with other solutions such as Microsoft, Oracle NetSuite, etc., it gives you far more flexibility on the level that you like to start at. And you can choose exactly what you want and then add more users, modules, and capabilities as and when you need it. It's also important to distinguish between Sage Intacct and smaller cloud solutions such as Xero or QuickBooks, for example, which are closed systems with limited flexibility. Sage Intacct offers an open, extensible architecture that allows custom fields, records, workflows, and seamless integrations. That gives us, as a certified Sage Intacct partner, the ability to tailor the system to your organization's unique needs, ensuring your finance platform adapts to you, not the other way around. So talking about cloud solutions, Intacct is what we say a true cloud software. In fact, it was one of the first true cloud software systems born around the same time as Salesforce and NetSuite in 1999. This means Intacct was built as a cloud solution from the ground up with web browser technology, tab functionality, drill down capability, and all the data in real time, for example. And it is accessible at any time from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection. It's important to make that clear distinction between true cloud and other solutions that later moved to the cloud and offer a cloud version of the software. What often happens with the software is that a lot of the functionality you'll need is only available from the desktop version, which means that you are kind of drawn back into that old way of working again with less flexibility and security, upgrade difficulties, and not to forget the added cost of maintaining the hardware service. But as a true cloud solution, there are no hidden costs, as all costs are embedded into the solution and shared amongst all customers, such as your hardware maintenance, security updates, hosting, etc. And all the software updates happen automatically in the background for Intacct, without any need for you to stop what you're doing or pay extra and get help from a third-party provider to manually install updates. And there are 4 major updates per year, and each release is loaded with technological enhancements. Sage Intacct can work in any sector and has unique modules and reports that cater for your typical industry vertical. And this is really where its dimensional accounting model comes into play. And Emma will speak more about this, but what that essentially means is that you'll have extra dimensions which you can use to tag transactions for reporting and analysis, and really start slicing and dicing the data to get more in-depth information on, for example, the performance of a particular service compared with another, and compare again with different regions or other segmentations that you may have. And in terms of user adoption, Sage Intacct was really designed for finance professionals. And you'll have an easy to use and intuitive platform to help you with all your daily activities. And that really leads me into the customer reviews. So, of course, you don't just have to take our word for it. G2 is the world's largest independent peer-to-peer review site for business software, where real users share their experiences. In the latest report, Sage Intacct leads the way across 59 different categories, especially in areas like customer satisfaction and automation. And as you can see here, it also tops the largest category in the UK, which is the accounting software as a whole. What makes this recognition powerful is that it isn't based on marketing claims, but on real feedback of organizations just like yours. So again, due to its architecture and open API, there are many third-party providers that have built enhancements applications and integrated them with Sage Intacct. And you'll find these on the Sage Intacct marketplace. This is really brilliant, as from time to time, there may be an application that would provide that little extra value to you. And we are here, for example, on the marketplace with our Saltbox solution, which is our integration platform I mentioned before. And I spoke earlier about how Sage and we at Vision 33 support you throughout your journey with Sage Intacct. And this doesn't stop after you go live. We at Vision 33 will always be here for you, but the idea with Sage Intacct is that you are empowered at any time to self-help. And within your account, you have access to support. You have the Sage user community as well, where really users discuss anything about Intacct. And there is also a rich resource center called Sage University, where you can find all kind of learning materials, even longer courses. But as I said, we'll be here to guide you and support you and make sure that, for example, you are aware of the new updates that are coming each quarter. You can see here on the screen that they will notify you ahead of each quarterly update and give you the release notes with all the nitty-gritty details, which we can take you through so you fully understand them. And last but not least, so Sage Intacct also have their own Copilot, which takes this support even further. Here you'll essentially be able to chat with the system on anything you need help with. And this is constantly being developed. And what is coming up is pretty exciting. There is, for example, a variance analysis capability, which they are looking to release soon, which helps you analyze your data even further and deliver incredible insights for your entire organization. Right. That was the end of my section. I will now hand over to Emma to start the demonstration.
Thanks, Linda. Really appreciate that. I'll just share my screen and then we'll get going. So yeah, hi everybody. As Linda mentioned, I'm going to be taking you through a little bit of a Sage Intacct demo this afternoon. I'm going to cover a handful of bits and bobs today, mainly core financials, reporting, and I'll also introduce you to the concept of dimensions. I know we've got people on the call from different sectors, so not-for-profit, general business, retail, professional services, and so on. I will try to remember to be inclusive, but please, if I reference a P&L, know that the functionality I'm referencing would also be available for a statement of financial activities and so on. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm just going to slightly overlap with what Linda's just shown you here and just show you the Sage help. Okay, so just up here in the top right, as Linda showed you on the slides, this is where you would access your help. So you can click onto help on this page, search help, which is the AI sort of powered searching that Linda mentioned, a quick link to Sage University, which has got all the courses, and then the help center itself. So if I just click into here, this will take me to the front page and I can type in what I need help with. So maybe an AR invoice. I press enter, open this up. I'll ask how to apply a credit to an invoice and it takes me right through to the help there. So really nice and easy. I always find the help really, really impressive and I still refer to it at times, even though this is literally my day job. So there we go. Something else we've got is the search function here, the global search. So I know that I've got a supplier within this particular demo system called Singleton Brothers. So if I type in Singleton and click on go, what that's going to do, it's going to bring me back all the records with that particular name in it. And I'll be able to easily find the transaction that I'm looking for or the records that I'm looking for. Okay, so you can see here on the search, I've got my AP payments for Singleton Brothers, any general ledger entries, purchasing, the supplier itself, AP purchase invoices, and so on. So it's a nice little function there that you don't have to kind of dig around and try and remember which area of the system it's in. Okay, so Sage is widely recognized for its powerful reporting capabilities, and it's known for its dimensional capabilities too. And we are going to come on to those. What I'm going to show you first is one of my demo dashboards. So I'm just going to use this application selector to go into my dashboards. You'll see I've built quite a lot. Bear with me, I love the reporting in the dashboards, so I do like to have a good play with these. I'm going to scroll down and I'm just going to bring you into this role-based CFO global view. I've built this dashboard thinking about what a CFO or a member of the exec team would want to look at. Okay, so if I just click into my components, I can have a look. This demo environment has been set up with a lot of entities across a lot of countries. So this is a consolidated dashboard that covers all of my entities. This means that the CFO could see what's happening across the business with a one-page overview. So you can see I've got my performance cards here with total revenue, revenue services, labour costs, operating expenses, and so on. I've also got various different charts. So you can see I've got Australia, Canada, South Africa, and so on. And with all of these, I can drill down and see what's driving the numbers that I can see on my dashboard. So for example, I click on revenue services, I'll open that up for you. You can see it's in USD. That's the consolidation currency I've selected for this particular sales demo site. You can, of course, consolidate into any currency that you prefer. I'll just go into here and I can keep drilling down until I see the exact transaction behind it. So in this case, it's a particular journal entry. It just makes that nice and easy so you can sort of, almost like Linda said with the help, you can self-serve and see what's generating the numbers on your dashboards. Okay, so this is just really an example dashboard. Hopefully it will give you a flavour of the depth and the comprehensiveness of the reporting in Sage Intacct. There's a lot of visuals here which can provide a nice quick view of how the different entities are performing, both individually and together. Okay, and like I said, everything on the dashboard is drillable. Okay, so this, as it's an example of what a CFO might like to see, it is quite high level. If you wanted to go a bit more granular or a bit more in depth, I've got other dashboards here that I've created as examples of role-based dashboards. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into my UK entity. So here I'm at top level and you can see I've got different entities here. By clicking on the UK, it's going to open me up another tab. So I've still got my top level here, but I'm going to have my United Kingdom entity here. And I'm going to go into my dashboards again. And this time I'm going to pick the dashboard that I've set up as an AP manager. So let's go role-based AP manager and then have a little look at what I've got here. Okay, so we should be able to see here a really quick snippet of what's going on in accounts payable for the entity that I'm in. Like I say, I'm currently in my UK entity. And I'm going to stay working in here for most of today's demo. I think most of you that are on this webinar are UK based, and I certainly am. So it's a lot easier for me without having to convert things in my head, especially the dates. So you can add performance cards like here, and you can also add comparators to them. So here I've compared to the prior month. You could change this to compare to budget, forecast, prior year, and so on. So you can see this one's month to date and my cash in hand has no change. I've obviously not done much testing in here over the last 17 days of September. Okay, if I scroll down, you can see I've got my AP trade account. Also got custom navigation. So as an AP manager, I'm probably going to want to go in and approve some bills. I may want to pay the bills, run the ledger, and so on. And this can take me straight to that area of Sage Intacct. Got my bills here, an aging graph. Depending on what you prefer, you obviously have got a supplier, I would call them rather than vendors, aging report as well, and then different trends, different vendors, and so on. Okay, so all the dashboards are bespoke and we'd build them out based on your requirements. That is part of the implementation process, and you can discuss that with Linda or her colleague Rory at a later time. What I'm trying to say there is that we build Intacct to suit your company's needs, so roles, workflows, and your reporting structure. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to dimensions. And as I said, Intacct is what we call a dimensional system. So instead of using endless sort of GL codes, which is probably what you're more likely to be used to, it's certainly what I had when I used to work in industry rather than as a consultant. You'd have maybe different codes for different types of revenue. So you could have revenue for X project, revenue for Y project, revenue for Z project, and so on. Here, Intacct uses dimensions like department, cost center, project, location, employee, grants, depending on what you need. And this allows you to have a much more concise chart of accounts, and it helps organize transactions in a much more intuitive way. This did take me a little bit of time to get my head around when I switched from the previous systems that I was using, but now I think it's absolutely fantastic the way you can slice and dice your data with these dimensions. So let me just show you what I've got set up here. I've set up some departments. Departments, cost centers, basically the same thing. So if we just have a little look here. So I've set up some departments. I've got admin, marketing, IT. I've also, I don't know if you can see here, but I've got some sub-departments. So you can build a hierarchy if you've got sort of specific departments that maybe roll up into another, or cost centers, of course, or anything else. You can do that. And then you can sort of report at different levels. Okay. So essentially what these dimensions do is they allow you to categorize your transactions into different buckets in the system to be able to report on later. So let's sort of translate this into an actual transaction, because I think that will help, and raise an AR sales invoice. So I'm going to go back into my entity for this and into accounts receivable and AR sales invoices. Okay, and I'm just going to click create in the top. I'm going to build a new one. Okay, so what you're looking at here is a very typical transaction entry screen. There shouldn't really be anything different from what you've used or seen before. So I guess the old way would be to put in your customer. So I'm going to choose Emma's Flowers. There we go, Emma's Flowers. You can put in a reference number if you've got one, or a description. I'm going to leave those empty for now because obviously this is only my test system. If it was a real working system, I probably would be a bit more careful with what I put in here and how much information I do provide. Then I can add a term. So I'm going to choose net 15, and you'll see that will bring the due date here. You can overwrite. So if you've got your terms here and for some reason you want this one paying slightly differently than usual, you could come in and say, actually, I want that paid on the 14th of October, and that would override whatever you've picked in your term. You can add an attachment, and then that will be with that transaction within Intacct, so you can view it alongside the transaction. I've got a custom field here for my customer PO number. We can, as I said, bespoke Intacct to what your requirements are and what information you need to have on your different transactions. I'm going to stick in GBP for the moment because that doesn't make my head hurt. I don't have to do any conversions in my head. And I'm going to go into the entries table here. So I'm going to use revenue services here from my nominal codes. Services, put an amount. Let's go relatively big today, 30,500. And generally that would be what you would post in sort of like more traditional systems. You'd probably put in a memo to say, I don't know, I'm going to put this demo invoice, but to say what it was. And of course you could add extra lines if it's more than one sort of type of GL code that you need to post to. Now, with the dimensions, we can fill in this extra information. So I'm going to pick a department. Let's go for services because I've said revenue services. So I'm going to go for department 200 here. For my class, I'm going to use service line 1. So class is really almost like what I would call a free dimension. So you could rename it to something that you want to report on, and then sort of add in the classes or the different tags that you want to use for your reporting. So I've used it to distinguish between the type of services that I'm providing there. I'm going to tag an employee too. So I'm going to choose Emma Penny, and I'm also going to tag a project. So as you can see, I've got a fair few. I'm going to go for my Sage Intacct implementation. Okay. So just scrolling to the right, I can add some tax details as well. So if I go for UK services, standard rate, you can see that's going to add 20%, and the transaction tax is there. Okay. So like I say, if maybe you're a charity, you might want to use your class for, say, restricted or unrestricted funds to tag those. The dimensions are available even in accounts payable as well. So if you do tag your transactions as restricted or unrestricted, that would mean that you could report on all the money going in and out for, say, restricted funds and unrestricted funds, respectively. So I'm going to post this one just now. Post. There we go. And you can see it in the system here. Okay, there's my 36,600. So if I just go back and look at that invoice. So if you purchase projects, you can tag the project on an AP invoice, which is what I did down here. I picked my Sage Intacct implementation. You can use this information to then bill back to the customer, maybe if it was an AP invoice, So I can imagine there's loads of potential uses for the dimensional tagging. And basically, you can use these dimensions to tag the invoices into a very specific bucket in the system. And what that really translates to is that you can run reports and slice and dice the data using these dimensions or tags, for a sort of more or less intacty type of word. So let's have a look at reporting, which, as I said before, it is one of Intacct's core strengths. So I'm just going to pop up to the top level initially and show you the report center. Here we are. So you get lots of what we call out-of-the-box reports with Intacct, and they're essentially the reports that come standard with your subscription. You can see here, there's a fair old few. Now, this particular instance is a service industry template. If you were not-for-profit, obviously, rather than having some of these reports that you can see in here, you would have things like your SOFA and funds reporting. Okay, so we also have a financial report writer. I go into my financial reports. I can add a report in here and create my own financial reports. And you do have a custom report writer as well, which is here. And that basically allows you to create reports with any financial and non-financial information that you have in the system. So maybe if you wanted to bring your memo lines from your invoices through, or something obviously that's not a number, that's what we would use the custom reports for. Okay, so I'm going to run a report just now. Go back into the report center. Now what I've done, because there's so many, is I've put stars next to a lot of them, and that designates them as my favorites. So now I don't have to look through that great big sort of list of reports. I can just go through the ones that I use sort of day to day. So if I just click on profit and loss detail for now, okay. And at the moment, because I'm multi-currency, I'm just going to report on the USA because they'll all be running in US dollars. Okay, what I could do is use one of my global consolidation books to run it, and then I could run the full group of entities if I wanted. I'll leave that as it is for now. Don't ask why I'm in 2019. There's data in there which makes the reports, more visual for you guys. So I'm sticking with 2019 for now. And here we go. So this is our profit and loss report. You can see it's pretty small because this is my test system, but there's data in here. And just like on the dashboards, you can drill down into any of these numbers and see what's generating behind them. So that is here. I've got my repairs and maintenance, and you can see that 3249, and that it's my monthly operating expenses that have come through. So what I'll do is I'll show you that we can split this by dimension now. So this is just the overall US dollars and for this particular month. If I come out of that one, and I'm going to go back into my report, and let's edit it. I'm going to click edit, and then I'm going to go into my columns. Obviously, this isn't a training session. You don't need to remember how to do this. I'm just trying to show you how quick and easy it is to expand these reports out and bring in your dimensional breakdown. So I'm going to go into this section here and say I want to expand by department, set, and then I'll just click preview so we can see it live. And that report that we were just looking at is now split out by department. It really is that quick. So now my P&L is split out by department, but what I could do is I could actually split it out by any of my other dimensions. So if I close that and say rather than departments, I'm going to split it out by, let's go for classes this time, and set, and then preview, live report. And here we go. Now I've got it split by my class. You can see we've also got this catch-all for no class, and that's quite useful because I can then have a look and say, okay, then do I need to sort of reclassify these ones because they haven't got the class information that I probably do want for my reporting. So just going back to the report center, if I cancel this, you'll be able to see that actually the out-of-the-box reports, you do have profit and loss by department, location, class, customer, employee, etc. So there are a lot of out-of-the-box reports that you can either use as they are, or use as a base and edit for your own sort of uses. So what you can do, say I wanted to use this one split by class. If I go in and edit, I can duplicate it, give it a new name, and then I can work on it. So I've got that starter for 10 with my reports. So I am in the top level. I'm just going to show you a consolidated P&L. So I'm going to go back to my report center, go into my favorites, and this one that starts with CONS, I've used as a code for consolidated. So if I click on this to run, you'll see now, like I said earlier, rather than using the accrual book, which wouldn't work because we've got multi-currency here, I'm using my global locations, which means I can report across my multi-currency, multi-entity business. So here we go, we've got Australia, Canada, and so on. And it tells me which currency I'm reporting in. So in this case, it's US dollars. Like I said earlier, at the risk of repeating myself, and I do talk, you can choose to set a consolidation book in any of the currencies that you are using. Okay. So this report, you can see all your entities together. It is still drillable. And what's even better is that you can schedule this report, or in fact, any report, to automatically run each month by setting up, funnily enough, a schedule. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I close this down for now. And then if I go to more actions to the right-hand side, and then it says edit schedule, but I'm going to create a schedule because I don't think I've scheduled this one before. So here we go. I could add some extra filters if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that for now. What I'm interested in is scheduling this to run for me, so I don't need to kind of go in and remember. So my start date is going to be today. I can choose when I want this to end. So I'm going to say after a number of occurrences, and I'm going to say 12. Unsurprisingly, I want it to run in months then, seeing as I've chosen 12, I want it to run every 1 month. And actually, I'm going to ask that it runs at the end of the month. Okay. And then for my delivery options, I can ask that it emails out to me or to somebody else with a subject, and I can choose my report type. So whether it's printable, HTML, Excel, if you want to do some sort of further analysis on it, and so on. My other options are to store it within Intacct. So I'd give it a description, and then it would run and store in my stored reports. And finally, you do have the option for it to store in the cloud. So if you're using something like Google Drive, SharePoint, and so on, if you've got the path, you can give it the name and it will store it in the cloud for you. Okay. That is a little bit of a crash course on dimensions and how they give you flexible, powerful ways to slice and dice your data, whether it's for your reporting or your sort of day-to-day transactions. Like I said, it can be a relatively new concept. It really was for me. So you can Google it, or you can speak to Linda or Rory, and they can put you in touch with me or any of the team, and we can discuss that in a bit more depth. Okay, so I'm going to pivot a little bit now and go back to data entry. So I'm going to go back into my UK entity, and I'm going to show you how Intacct handles revenue recognition. So I'm going to go into AR and my AR sales invoices. I have prepared something earlier. So something that's really important to a lot of our clients is being able to manage how revenue hits their ledger. And that's where they can start to think about things like revenue recognition or revenue management. So typically, if you wanted to do revenue management in some of your systems, you'd have to post the invoice, manually move it to a deferred revenue account, and then every single month, you'd have to remember to move a portion from deferred revenue into revenue. With Intacct, Sage Intacct, you can set up deferred revenue schedules. So like I said, here is one that I've prepared earlier. Here we go. Let's pop this into the search. Here we go. And here it is. So if we click into here, okay, you can see my invoices here. Dear, I need to do some chasing because it's 108 days overdue. And you can see, just like the other invoices that we've looked at, I've got my account, I've got my department. In this case, I haven't tagged it with anything else. Okay. And then if I go into the posting details, you can see here basically the same thing, where it's hit and that it's gone to deferred revenue. Now back in here, If I click on show details, we can now see we call it RevRec, revenue recognition details here. So I've chosen a straight line 12-month methodology. I've chosen my deferred revenue account. I've said when I want it to start. And if I click on view schedule, there we go. You can see that 1,000 is split over my 12 months equally, so straight line. It's not started yet. I've deliberately held this in so that I can demonstrate it to you. But you can also see that you can edit, terminate, or put on hold your schedules, and this is all tracked within the system. And just from the other side, we also support prepaid expenses in the same way. It's obviously just two sides of the same coin. So moving on to purchasing, purchasing in Intacct follows a robust workflow, and staff can actually raise purchase requests, purchase requisitions directly. Okay, so I'm just going to go into purchasing here, and let's go into a purchase requisition. So this for me is the start of my workflow. Okay. Now, this always makes me smile because every single demo system I go into, Hamza has bought himself a new laptop. I dread to think how many laptops he's got just now. It's got to be in the hundreds. So let's have a look at this one. Okay, so this is the purchase requisition. Looks pretty similar to one of the invoices we've raised, except for we're using items rather than general ledger. What I'm here to show you is the history. So you can see here how the approval chain has gone on, which is here. So I've got approvals in here. So I've got these different approval levels, and you can see when it was approved and who it was approved by. So we've also got another approver of Emma, our financial controller, in here. Okay, back into my history. And what I wanted to show you as well is this kind of purchase workflow. So you can see we started off with a purchase requisition, which is what I'm currently in. That was then converted into a purchase order, which was then converted into a vendor invoice. So I can click into the purchase order here and see that it's exactly the same data as we had before. So still Hamza's laptop. And then once that purchase order has been sort of fulfilled, been converted into an invoice. Okay, and there's the invoice. Also within your transactions, you can access the prior transaction too. Okay, so that's just sort of one example. You can customize your workflows for different teams and different use cases. So if I just show you in my transaction definitions in here, and I'll display my workflows. I've got quite a few different sort of workflows running in this. Obviously, this is where I test things and where I demonstrate. So you probably wouldn't have quite so many. But yeah, you can go from purchase requisition to purchase order. In this case, this is using spend management as well. Alternatively, it would go for inventory. Here I go from a purchase order to fulfillment to a vendor invoice. And then, of course, we need to cater for any sort of returns and debit memos and so on. Okay, so I've mentioned this before, but obviously we do multi-entity, multi-currency consolidations. So I'm just going to take you in here. I'm conscious that I need to sort of rattle through a few of these things. So in my consolidations, I'll just show you a couple of the books I've set up. I can leave that. There we go. So I've got multiple books. I've got my global locations. I've got my global locations consolidated into GBP as well, my North American and my non-USA locations. Okay, if I just go into one of these, I'll just show you. Here we go. The Intacct handles the inter-entity eliminations, easy for me to say, automatically. So the elimination accounts here, you can see we've got these due to and due froms. And you can see also I've added some additional GL accounts for elimination. So I've got interco receivables and payables that I also want to have eliminated as part of my consolidation. So here I've chosen the entities I want to consolidate. I've chosen the dimensions that I want to consolidate as well. And then my book information, you can see I've chosen what my currency is and then which rates I want to use. So obviously from a balance sheet, I'd use my ending spot rate. And for my income statements, I use my weighted average rate. So in terms of intercompany postings, let me just show you what Intacct can do here. I'm going to go into cash management and funds transfers. Okay, so what I've done here is I've transferred some money from one of my bank accounts to another, and they're in different currencies and also in different entities. Okay, so I've gone from Canada to GBP, and funnily enough, my Canadian bank account is in my Canadian entity and my GBP bank account is in my UK entity. So if we look at the posting details, the general ledger posting that I essentially created was moving from this 140 account, which is my Bank of Canada one, to my 150, which is my Bank of England account. And what Intacct has done automatically for me is this inter-entity journal, and it's put my due from entity 500 and due to entity 400, so due from Canada to the UK. I'm going to quickly whip back into the consolidations and just show you how quick and easy it is to run a consolidation. So if I click on run, you can see with this one, I've gone right the way up to this month. So I might pick a different book. Here we go. And I'm going to run for August 2020. So I'm just going to click that and click consolidate. Okay, it will email me to notify me when that has happened. Hopefully it will be by the end of this demo, but we shall see, given that I've got competition for bandwidth here today. So you can see from the different colours and the key underneath, anything green is successful, anything blue is in progress, and then if the consolidation does fail, it would be in red. Okay, so I'm just going to show you one last thing in cash management. So Intacct makes cash management seamless, and we support global bank feeds and reconciliation. Okay, so I'm going to just go into cash management, and I'm going to go into one of my banks, do a bank reconciliation today, I think. Okay, I'm going to choose this bank. Okay, go in. Here we go. And so you can see here on my Intacct side of things, I've got all the transactions that I've created as I've been working within Sage Intacct. And then on this tab here, I've got my bank feed. So this is bringing through all the transactions that are going through my USD bank here. Okay, and if I want to reconcile them, say there's a heart and vascular clinic here of 18,750.50. I click on match, going to take me to the side. And again, here's one I prepared earlier. I've got 18,750 here. I can select that one. And then if I scroll down, it will show me that remaining to match is nothing. So I have successfully matched two transactions with the same amount. And then I can go up and just say match and go to next. So really nice and easy. I'm going to cancel that for now because I'd like that to be there for next time I do a demo. But yeah, essentially you've got your Intacct there and your bank, and you'll recognize this sort of thing from bank reconciliations you currently do. So the amount to reconcile, I mean, I am still working in 2019, so it's no wonder I'm so far behind here. Okay, so that was a really high level walkthrough of Intacct across dashboards, transactions, reporting, and automation. I'm going to hand you back to Linda just now, and we'll open up the floor for any questions.
Thank you so much, Emma. That was brilliant. So we appreciate that there's a lot of information to take in, and it might as well be that your questions will come a little bit later once you have digested this information. So as I said before, we'll follow up with you individually to hear your feedback, answer any questions, and perhaps even set up further demo sessions if there is anything more you'd like to see in your particular vertical, if you're, for example, in the non-for-profit space or any other of the industries. I think that may be the case that you might like to save that question for another opportunity, and that's absolutely fine. So let's do that. We'll reach out to you after this session. And until then, thank you all very much again, and I'll see you soon.